OG, I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. Niggas don't know what to think. Thought I get money, you change. What you thought we was the same? Still stay away from them clones. Niggas better leave me alone. Talking about niggas as low. Run with niggas who don't know you. Whoa, I make that zagging when city to city. You niggas not hot in your state. If it was money to get a hit Henny, we get it and never complain. Same go for the gang. And we split it up all the same. I can't really eat, let's stay straight. Cause we go way back in the day. My day ones from back in the day. They still hang around me today. You wanna come round us, you can't. I'm rolling up loud, it's great. Lil' mama, she bad but complain. Cause I'm too in love with my dreams. And I gotta get on the plane and go get this money with Desi. I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang.
I get the bag with the gang. Taking that sack to the bank. And it be all in my drink. You niggas is stupid, you think that should change? You not even hot in your gang. Ain't nothing even hot about your gang. You niggas be lying about same. Be posting them pictures of guns for the fame. Niggas just look at me different now. Say that's your man, but he a clown. Don't fuck around with the fuck arounds. Little nigga, you should cut it out. Me and my niggas take different routes. Punch a bitch nigga all in his mouth. Hold up my nigga, we different now. I need a Robert, this is my style. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I get a bitch today, she probably a foreign model. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I'm with my gang today, tomorrow never promise.
OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang.
Your attention, please. Please do not smoke in the terminal building. Smoking is only permitted in the specified smoking areas.
Zach.
Thank you.
OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. Niggas don't know what to think. Thought I get money, you change. What you thought we was the same? Still stay away from them clones. Niggas better leave me alone. Talking about niggas as low. Run with niggas who don't know you. Whoa, I make that zagging when city to city. You niggas not hot in your state. If it was money to get a hit Henny, we get it and never complain. Same go for the gang. And we split it up all the same. I can't really eat, let's stay straight. Cause we go way back in the day. My day ones from back in the day. They still hang around me today. You wanna come round us, you can't. I'm rolling up loud, it's great. Lil' mama, she bad but complain. Cause I'm too in love with my dreams. And I gotta get on the...
I think I'm cute. I know I'm sexy. I've got the look that drives the girls wild. I got the moves that really move them. I send chills up and down their spines. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I make them hot I make them shiver, their knees get weak. Whenever I'm around, they see me walk, they hear me talk. I make them feel like they're all real. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. That eats your heart out,
Mike
girls. Hands off the merchandise. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Welcome, welcome, welcome everybody to another edition of the Pocket Locker Podcast. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast. And as always, folks, I am in airplane mode. I need to adjust my camera here a tad bit. Sorry. Sitting on a different chair. So I need to change the framing up a little bit. There we go. It's a little bit better. All right, folks, let's go ahead and start the festivities off with our communion. I feel like my desk got stuck, like half pulled out or something. I don't want to fuck with it though. This desk is falling apart. All right, let's go ahead and get into our communion, folks. Y'all already know the drill. I'll find my little bells here. Here we go. All right, y'all, please raise your glasses and hold on to your asses. Through him, with him, in the unity of the flying man, all glory and honor is yours who flied for our sins forever and ever. You may drink. All right. Appreciate that. And now for our communion song. Something all over my damn bells. Let's go ahead and get into our song. This one comes to us from the Brummies. It's a cover of our community theme song. It's called Where Everybody Knows Your Name.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see your troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. You wanna go where people know people are all the
All right, y'all. So let's jump into it. I don't really know the best way to intro today's piece, so I'm gonna just go ahead and shoot from the hip. There's been a lot of conversations in our community about sensitive social, interpersonal, political issues, particularly revolving around racism and the LGBTQ community as well. Always a bigger conversation about misogyny. Anyway, in these conversations has come up that these are actual areas of expertise. These are things that people study, and as I see it, this is a very important and prominent area of sociology and other disciplines. And when I was at Penn State, I had the privilege of studying with Sam Richards, who is the namesake of this dog, who is trying to get center stage here. He doesn't know what he's doing on this chair. Say, I'm named after a sociologist. Yes, you are. And it really has had me reflecting on this because I've been talking about it like, I have this experience. It's not just life experience, but I went to Penn State. I had the privilege of being part of what was at that time called the Race Relations Project. It's now called World in Conversation, which was a much better name for it. Because it always started with race, because came out of this class that you're going to be seeing today called Soc 119. It's just Soc is just short for sociology. It's the department designation. 119 is just the course number. The title of the course is The Sociology of Race. It's taught by Sam Richards, along with his wife, whose name is Lori Mulvey. I worked very closely with both of them when I was at Penn State. They don't have any children, so those of us that become close to them as their teaching assistants and part of the Race Relations Project always feel like, they look out for us as though we were the children they didn't have. Sam's given TED Talks. The basis of the title of today's stream is he was actually written in a book called The Professors, the 101 Most Dangerous Academics in America. And he's considered one of the most dangerous academics in America because of his circumstance. He teaches one of the most popular classes at Penn State, which is one of the largest university systems in the country. Teaches predominantly white students about issues like implicit bias and structural racism, and but the class goes into so many things. It's all over the place, but the students are they're reading research, they're reading books, and it's a really transformative experience. And one of his videos actually popped up on my feed, so I was like, cool, let's hit that up. But yeah, it's as far as our community is concerned, there's been a lot of frustration that there's a lot of people having these discussions who haven't acknowledged that, yeah, okay, maybe everybody's got an opinion about certain things, but these are areas of expertise that people have. And I feel for the social scientists, really, because their work is so overlooked. We're so hard pressed when it comes to catching up with STEM, so to speak, technology, biology. People are anti-vax, all of this type of shit. That really getting them to wrap their heads around the limits of their understanding vis-a-vis social studies or the science of social studies is quite tragic in my estimation, because it leads to people acting like we don't know things that in essence we know and we're capable of teaching. And it's been very frustrating for me lately because, quite frankly, I've been subject to a lot of personal attacks of my character and of my merit as a scholar in this community, and that's been very hurtful, especially as I'm at an early stage in my academic career and I'm still dealing with imposter syndrome and still very insecure about issues like academic racism and things like that. But it's also been an opportunity to reach into my bag, so to speak, and be like, well, like in my words of my friend Stephanie Holmes, we're dealing with a lot of clueless people. And I deal with cluelessness by educating. And so it's been really helpful for me to reflect on the fact that where I'm at in my journey is a reflection of a lived experience. Being Black in America for almost 40 years. But so much more of my perspective is informed by my formal education, which started in higher education at Penn State. I took the sociology of race class. It was one of the most impactful classes I've ever taken. But I went on to be part of the teaching team, and I taught this class. And a big part of the gig was you're not just you have teaching assistant responsibilities in Sam's lecture class, but the bigger responsibility you have is that you have a recitation section. It depends on your responsibilities. I had both, right? I was one of the few TAs that's with Sam during the lecture and is helping him throughout the class. It's a big, huge class. It's one of the biggest classes. It's like 400 plus students when I took it. And it's held in one of the largest lecture halls on campus, and it's absolutely full, right? And it's a class that kids talk about, and you try to take it if you can and try not to miss it while you're there. But you have a recitation, and in recitation you sit around in a circle, much like we wish we could do when we're having these conversations online, and you have a larger dialogue, and your responsibility as a teaching assistant is to facilitate that conversation. And some of the insights I was trying to share with Gur is like, it does come with a lot of responsibility. There are sensitive conversations that are happening in this space, and you are in charge of this space. You have to set the guidelines. You have to set the tone for what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. You have to make sure everybody has a chance to be heard and that everybody is listening. And I really have just been grateful for all of that experience lately, and saying like, all right, maybe it's time to take a step back and kind of try to reestablish some of what this community knows about me and fill in some of the blanks for people about who I really am and where I'm really coming from. So yeah, a lot of the things that I've been seeing lately, for instance, like I was talking about, if I had somebody, we dealt with an issue with some dog whistling and some potentially problematic avatars and just kind of trolly type behavior. And in serious conversations about sensitive topics, there's just no place for that. I would certainly pull a student out of class for doing something like that if I were having, say, like a virtual class where the recitation had to happen in, online, like say in Zoom. Y'all know I'd be using Gather, fuck Zoom for class. But say we're having a conversation in Gather for a class and everybody's sitting around the circle and Gather, I would have to pull a student aside for that and let them know that, this is not a time or a place for that. And certainly there would be more consequences if people didn't get in line. But I wish people had an opportunity to think about impact. That's one of the things that we're trained very seriously on as facilitators is
you don't take the opportunity to have the conversation or to educate people about these issues lightly. You realize that emotional topics are coming up, sensitive topics are coming up, topics that people have very strong opinions on, topics that people have very traumatic life experiences with. And so there's a certain decorum that needs to be observed, and I find that people don't have that perspective online, and that's troubling to me, although I certainly accept that I can't ask people to or expect people to, and I don't. It's just a difference that I certainly can't ignore. Also, the platform is different. I'm always reflecting on, if I'm having a recitation, I have 25 students in a closed door setting, where, you know, what happens in the room kind of stays in the room. And even online, if I were teaching that class online, right, typically it's not going to be broadcast. I personally am interested in broadcasting my classes, but overall 99.9% of classes in higher education are not public, right? And so there's almost a raised stakes when you have it online, because there's the audience and the record, and so it can have an unintended impact on somebody watching that you're not thinking of, because they're not in the room, so to speak. And then there's a potential downstream impact when other people see it, and it is public. And so that's not something that I'm like, oh, well, you have to, you know, uphold my standard on your broadcast. It's just something I wish people thought about, and maybe me bringing it up is an opportunity for people to think about it, so we can recognize that there are real stakes for people in these conversations. But anyway, I've been rambling a bit. Kind of wanted to just speak a little bit about where I'm coming from on all this. I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the clip. And I think, you know, if depending on how it goes, I might do more from Social 119. But it's kind of a trip just really looking at this, because, you know, this is my guy. This is a very influential mentor of mine. I used to teach this class in this room. I used to be right up there, sitting by Sam at that desk, or right in the front row, you know, spending a lot of time in his office. So this is literally like revisiting my old stomping ground. So pretty cool. Actually, they just had a big reunion not too long ago of all the people that were involved in the Race Relations Project, and I got the invite, and they did a beautiful website for it, and I'm still not traveling. So I've been traveling because of COVID, so I didn't go, but oh man, you talk about it, broke my heart. But it was really good to see everybody get together, and certainly hope I can make the next one.
Just start with white people. 52% of all white people think.
Oh, by the way, I got to tell y'all a funny story about Sam Richards, man. Me and this guy got close, and it was funny because when I was in his class, like, I was just doing my thing. I really wanted to go into law and likely politics. I was on my Cory Booker bullshit, as I like to say. And even though I was doing all this scholarly stuff and hanging out in the department and doing research, I was just trying to get smart. And understand the bigger picture, but, you know, I was really focused on law and politics, and then, you know, being a dating coach in my spare time and a musician. And Sam Richards is the first person to ever call me Dr. Bundy. And I was like, I'd be like 19, and he always called me Dr. Bundy when he saw me. And I would like ridicule him, like, Sam, I'm not gonna get a PhD, bro. Like, PhDs are for weirdos. I don't know why y'all do that. Like, you know, I'm going to law school. Like, he knew what I was about. He knew what I was about, and he knew I was not trying to get a PhD. That was not part of the plans. That was not in the cards at all. But, you know, your advisors and your mentors sometimes see things you don't see. But, I mean, this is a long time before I even was thinking about research like that, yo. Dr. Bundy. Sam, get the fuck out of here, man.
Just start with white people. 52% of all white people think that discrimination against white people is as big of a problem as discrimination against black people and other racial and ethnic minorities, including, I assume, Koreans.
It could still be
what's up, Joel?
the 52% of
Hey,
all
Jay.
white people can also be
How you doing?
supporters that
Good,
of,
man.
like,
Good to hear your
all
voice,
lives
buddy.
matter. People could be
Yeah, you too.
those people could be also thinking
I know,
that,
but
you
explain.
racial-
Just tell me what do you think is going on in the heads of white people who are thinking that, yeah, man, the discrimination against us, it's white people in America, in the United States, is just as bad or worse than the discrimination against black discrimination.
It could be some situations such as maybe there is a program where there is like a opportunity that the black people get that the white people do not get.
Okay, so that's one.
Wait,
What
is
else?
this guy's position?
So people are seeing that something's going on.
So he's a sociology professor, and these are students who I believe are thinking through, this is his ability to give them something, a video reflection. And so what he does is he's having them think through this with him in real time. So it's a, I always like to say there are, Uncle Bobby talks about this, right? He says if you want to learn about evolution, you really want to get into the history of life, go talk to an evolutionary biologist. When he talks about issues of race and class and all of these types of things, he's always say, go talk to a sociologist. And
Yeah,
one of the things
that.
I loved about this class is, and I'm trying to show people just a sneak peek of that, is that there are real spaces for this, and you can go to a school and you can take a class with a sociologist, and we can work through these things in a way that's constructive. But this is with people who want to learn, and this is part of their education. They're not coming in here to score points or win a debate.
Yeah.
They're coming in here, and we're going to try to work through this as a class. But it really is awesome because Sam does this and he's brilliant at it, and it's hard to teach big classes. It's really hard to teach big classes. I just wrote a whole grant, and it's like I limited the class size to 20 students. Because it's just hard to teach big classes. So in his own way, he's learned to take this and it's almost like a broadcast, right? The front of the room is like a stage. You're kind of sitting like like the Greek theater style, where like the stage is at the bottom and then the seats are going up, right?
That's how, one of my classes were like that.
Yeah, and then you have the recitation. So then, you might have 400 students in lecture, but the recitation is 25 students or under. So they're in these small group discussions. And that really does remind me of what we're trying to do out here. You get scholars, they sit down with Derek, they do a big stream in front of hundreds of thousands of people. Then people go on the smaller channels and they're kind of having panel discussions. We're trying to I'm really trying to write about what's going on in our community as a really crazy form of adult education. There's clearly benefits to it. People are clearly, I don't have to tell you guys, people are learning a lot on YouTube, but there's also limits to it, right? So we're trying to work through that. I'm trying to learn how to write about it, but I do think more academics need to pay attention to this. But let me get into this tape. Let's get into this tape.
All right.
Going on in society that black and brown, not just black people, but black and brown people are getting something that we're not getting.
Right.
Yeah, okay, what else? Do you think white people are feeling like they're doing well?
In terms of?
Just their own socioeconomic standard, or?
They're generally more well off than the other ethnicities.
Okay, but nonetheless, they feel like discrimination is half of them, and that's half. That's a lot.
Right.
So when you look at that, you're just kind of confused. Do you think it's true? Is discrimination against white people as big of a problem as discrimination against black and brown people?
I don't think it's true.
Uh-huh. So if a white person, if I were to say that to you, like, Jung,
right,
discrimination against me is as big of a problem as discrimination against you.
Right.
What are you thinking? Of course it is. Come on, me, a white guy. You don't think it's true. Well, so what would you say?
I would probably say that you might have suffered a discrimination for some godly reason, but if you look at the world, there might be situations where the chances are that the white people are less discriminated than the other people.
The chances are better. A lot of wealth was created in these years. I mean, a lot of wealth. More wealth in those years than in the history of all humanity on earth. Okay? And 74% of it went to the top 5%, the richest 5% of Americans. 74%. So all this wealth was created. More money is going into the economy. And 75%, 3/4 of it, is going into the richest 5%. So remember my story of being up here, right? I'm at the top. How is it that people at the top who are controlling, making laws, controlling regulation,
Thanks.
funding the
Good to see you all.
politicians, all sorts of things. How is it that people at the top 5, the richest 5%, are able to manipulate and move things so that we can ensure that of all the wealth that is created, 3/4 of it's going to go to us? So what happened up here at the top that things keep happening in the same way? Okay? And all the white people are not in the top 1%. So now I go back and I ask white people, hey, how you doing? How's discrimination going for you?
Can anybody guess what I did in Sam's class? I'm like watching everybody. I'm like, all right, we got my camera guy here. We got my computer guy here. I was the sound guy, right? Like I have a sound thing. I always wanted to make sure Sam sounded great, right? And make sure checking his mic and staying on top of that in addition to everything else. And there's exam stuff. These days are not so bad. Like lecture days, they're not so bad. You've got more work to do, like and there's an exam and you've got a proctor or they've got something to hand in, you've got to run around the room, or I used to take the mic too, I had the mic and the sound stuff, right? So a lot of times the students are asking questions on the mic, and so you're like running around the room with the microphone, and I'm remembering all the damn, class mechanics of dealing with this huge ass class. I hate huge classes. I really hope I don't have to teach a class this big.
How much do white people understand discrimination? How much do you think white people understand discrimination? How much do you think white people, just that.
It's just how much white people
understand discrimination. How well?
I say decently well.
Yeah? Decently well? Dude, how much do you think white people understand inequality?
I'd say about 20%.
Dude, they don't understand shit.
Okay.
Right? They understand nothing. If I brought them up one by one and started asking them to explain any of this stuff, first off, we just asked.
Now I gotta. Now you notice I laugh. You notice a lot of people laugh. It's really important. Sam tells this story to some of us, and it's really profound, which is that he really liked the black guy that taught this class before him, who he thinks taught it in a very similar way. But teaching these subjects to this majority population, he thought they couldn't handle it. And that left a very strong impression, because it wasn't the black dude coming and saying, hey man, I taught this class, I was teaching the same stuff the white dude was teaching, but they got rid of me, and now he's taking my class, and now he's one of the most famous professors in America. It was him saying it, right? And so, hopefully we're going to be having more conversations with people like Stephanie Helms and some others in this community about semiotics and symbolic interaction. What does what it looks like mean? And that's just one of those things that Sam was always aware of, and I really appreciate him sharing with me right? And that's something in academia where, as minority scholars, we do have to fight to be ourselves. A lot of you probably know I take a lot of liberties with my presentation and my work style and how I do what I do as an academic. And Sam's one of my inspirations for that, because he's someone who made me aware that fighting for, you know, my right to be here, so to speak, at the university, so to say, and equity for Black scholars is just as much about me being here as myself as it is about being here, right? It's about more than being counted. It's about being counted as who you are. And I'm so grateful that I had these wonderful mentors along the way who really encouraged me, and that I continue to have great mentors and great leadership who get it and who are like, yeah, go Jay.
4 people in class, they explained the difference between Switzerland and Haiti, and they gave us these answers that were great for who you are, right? You're students. But like, your answers were really no better than the average answer that we would get from anybody off the street. So what you heard them say is what you're going to hear any average American say. It's like, well, it's about this, and maybe it's about that, and this, and I'm not really sure. And well, because, you know, historically speaking, and people are going to bounce around, but people aren't going to understand. People do not have a systematic understanding of it. The fading American dream. The percent of children earning more than their parents by year of birth. I was born in 1960. So in my cohort in 1960,
Now, gang, what does Pocket Locker 86 mean? Y'all already know. Pocket Locker means a drums likes that. Don't worry about it. The drums are taken care of. 86 is simply the year I was born. And it's hitting me so hard because I've been thinking about this, and growing up, my mother was such a fucking badass. I wish you guys could meet the woman that raised me. But I think about this, and it's so hard. My mom's a product of that flat part. it's down there, but it's relatively. But no, seriously, being born 1986, man, it just sucks. It sucks to realize that, you know, the narrative that I grew up with was the whole, like, you know, you're trying to step up from the previous generation. My grandparents sort of represented that well-to-do, upwardly mobile Black folks, you know, didn't go to college. Not to say that they necessarily couldn't have gone to college. Certainly wasn't the norm for African Americans in their time, but those doors were just starting to be more readily open. But they were, you know, great workers, had great jobs, worked multiple jobs, managed to buy a nice home in an area with decent schools, and, you know, on and on and on. And then my mom was the first generation to go to college. We're still dealing with a lot of first generations to go to college. She went to grad school, right? And then she got corporate and, you know, went to sort of a you know, recognizably middle class, I guess you could say. But, you know, I take a nosedive. You go get a PhD, but, you know, I'm housing insecure. I'm food insecure. You know, it's like I don't know. It's like now things are always like up in the air for me. Certainly could always be worse, but yeah, this hits home. This hits home, and I know it does for a lot of you too. I wish more of the people around us understood this, right? It's not that we're not ambitious. It's not that we're working hard. It's just things have changed.
About 66% of myself and my friends who graduated high school with will earn more than our parents. Watch where it was in 1940 over 90%, look what's happening. This includes white people.
Damn.
So we're not at 1985, and this has continued to go down. This is people who are 1985, born in 1985, so we can keep going to born in 2015. The estimates are going down and down. It's going down here.
It'll say my life sucks.
Yeah, you're going to say, like, there's a problem here.
Right.
And the problem is what? It's like, I don't know what the problem is, but there's something going on here. You're going to be confused. So you're white, and you're feeling like, yeah, I'm not doing so well, things aren't looking so good for me, but you're also not looking at that. This is median family wealth, 2016. And so half of all white families have $171,000 in wealth or more. Half of all of them. This is not mean. 171 half of all white.
Where's this at? All right, right. Because now, all right. So we're talking medians. We're non-parametric data. No, so yeah, we're not doing so we're talking about the median value. All right. So this is all very interesting, right? Because as the wealth inequalities grow, everybody's fucked. Wealth is concentrated in the hands of relatively few people. Those people certainly do fit a certain demographic, by and large, but not completely. This leaves everybody feeling like things are bad and things are getting worse, because that's kind of there's those indicators are real, and then there is also a systematic effort to redress certain historic inequalities and inequities, and that looks like active programming for people who are not, white and, middle class or above or whatever. So yeah, it's not an unreasonable perception to have from a particular perspective, right? We can all take that step together, come along, feel the feels are real, All right, now let's take the next step of when we're going to talk about how people are doing in particular groups relatively, and then you see the reality that most of us are dealing with, and we can walk and chew gum at the same time, but yeah, there's gonna be a clash of realities when we sit down and have this conversation, because if somebody comes up to me like Sam, when Sam first said it to me, he said to that kid, he said, what would you say if I said racism is just as bad against me as it is against people of color or whatever? I was really thinking, Sam, I might throw hands, but no, I was probably thinking, you'd have to say it, I'd laugh at it, it would sound patently ridiculous to me, or a lot of people of color. But that's what this class is about. It's about an educational space for perspective taking in an informed way, right? Where you're there to do that, not just for yourself, but for your classmates as well. There's a very community aspect to this class, and that's what's so great about the class is, 400 students, it ends up being diverse, especially because it's a class about race. So you do, students that have that lived experience or dealing with those issues, and people who are interested are there. So it's a diverse class, noticeably, but it is, especially because you take it a lot of early. It's a lot of freshmen and sophomores in the class, and so you are really doing a lot of perspective taking, kind of coming out of wherever you might be coming from in high school. So I love that about this class, and that's I think that's why I got so hooked on the program myself, because a lot of y'all know, I was the only black kid in all white school. So then, coming to Penn State on a full academic scholarship for academics, but there to increase the university's diversity and all that type of stuff, you're like, you're trying to process and figure out what the hell all that means, right? And you're like a fucking 18, 19 or whatever.
16. And so half of all white families have $171,000 in wealth or more.
Also, I was the president of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, and Sam Richards helped me start it. But he wouldn't be my faculty advisor because he didn't have tenure. Smart move, Sam, smart move. But he introduced me to Rich Doyle, who's an English professor who was another one of my great mentors at Penn State. They're friends. And Rich ended up being my mentor, and he was the preceptor. I made my own major at Penn State. I had a great opportunity at Penn State, right? I went there on a full academic scholarship. I got to make my own major out of like 42,000 students. There's, I don't know, the head of the undergraduate education tried to keep that program like under 10 students. I mean, so he had to go through some whole thing about, why you couldn't just double or triple major or 2 majors and 3 minors. But anyway, that's where I got to study social dynamics and make this really interdisciplinary thing, and that ended up leading to my studies in evolution. But Sam Richards was a huge part of that, and we spent a lot of time working together, but I spent so much time in his goddamn office with him or with him and his wife. And even when I started to have my mental health struggles, him and his wife were there for me, and they would see me and come get me when I needed a ride from the hospital and stuff. I mean these are people. I named my dog after Sam for a reason, right? We were very, very, very close.
Half of all of them. This is not mean. And then half have less. But look what it is for Hispanic and black families.
When you look at it, not much.
Not much.
Think they ever see this? Think they ever look at it?
Not unless they care.
How many white people in this classroom do you think knew this before I put that graph up, or had a really good idea about it before I put the graph up?
I mean, since you called me, I'll say about like 5 people.
5 people? Let's ask. Don't lie, my white friends. You're on the white team right now. White people don't lie. We never lie. Okay? How many of you, if I'd asked you before we put this up here, how many of you could have had a pretty, maybe not, I don't mean the exact numbers, but knew that, yeah, man, there's this pretty serious inequality between white families and black and brown families, like serious, when we add up wealth. So how many of you could say, like, just white people, like, yeah, I got this. Raise your hands. Wait, hang on, let's count them, man. You said 5. So we're at, like, I'm seeing like 20, maybe even 25. 20, okay.
Liars.
That's cool. Most people aren't thinking it, though.
They're all getting D's.
Here, look at this one. Median household income by race. Look at Asians, by the way. You know why Asian is so high? Household income?
We work too hard, I guess.
We work hard? No.
There's also, we also know that in families, like, Asian tend to work both roles.
Dude, you're more likely, Asian in the United States.
Yes.
You ready? Asians are more likely to be new immigrants.
Right.
New immigrants are more likely to live in larger households with extended families.
Right.
So you're going to have like cousins and uncles and grandparents. It's household income. So all the income is being pooled together.
Right.
Damn.
So you're naturally going to have more income. You could have like an Indian family of under one roof of 9 people. They're all working at 7-Eleven, but they pool all their money together, and that's a lot of money, man. Not that Indians work at 7-Eleven. Okay. So listen, man. Also, because Asians being more likely to be recent immigrants are more likely to come with professional degrees and make more money and so on. So here's the deal. Y'all, you ready? Remember King of the Mountain, King of the Hill. We're all like working to get ahead. Choice, chance. So like these 2 people on average, so we take the black, they're representing the black community and the Hispanic community. So they're down here. The Asian, Native American community, by the way, is out here. Right? They're back here behind the door. That's how far back they are.
So physical.
And so
what he's
everybody is working to get ahead. And then we come back here to this thing, that if, you ready? People have an equal chance. Dude, if you work hard, people have an equal chance to get ahead if they just work really hard. So here's the problem. What's your name? Stephanie. Melissa, Stephanie, and Melissa. Okay? Now, mind you, be aware of the following. It may be that the richest person in class is Hispanic or is black. I have no idea. We're just going with these numbers here for a second. So, Melissa.
I didn't realize it was on me the whole time.
Stephanie and Melissa. So they're going to work really hard because this is the thing. Work hard to get ahead. But while they're working hard to get ahead, the Asian team is also working hard, and so is the white team. Man, the white team's working hard. What do you think? White people are just chilling? White people are working too. And he's going to work as hard. What's your name, bro? Kyle. So Kyle's going to work hard. So watch so the two of you start moving up a little bit. But you guys are moving up too. So they start moving up, but they move up. And so the idea is...
Let me pull back to let me show that graph. Where's he at now? That's the data he was talking about, right? And so this is what I'm talking about. When you have more and more elitism, you just create greater and greater wealth inequalities, obviously. And everybody's feeling that. But at the same time, the median family income for white folks is 10 times that of black people. So that's crazy, right? And nearly double that of the combined average. So it's literally them and everyone else. And then steep inequalities within everyone else to where you really have Hispanics and Latinos down here at the bottom of that hierarchy, right? And like you said, Native Americans out the door. All right, let's go back to this thing with the young ladies here.
Native American community, by the way, is out here, right? They're back here behind the door. That's how far back they are. And so everybody is working to get ahead. And then we come back here to this thing, that if, you ready? People have an equal chance. Dude, if you work hard, people have an equal chance to get ahead if they just work really
hang
hard.
On, sure. Sorry, guys. I apologize for the issue with that. But we'll come back to no worry. I picked this one because it's a short video. That's why I did a long intro and wasn't too worried about it. But let's take a look at that other one from earlier, which was about this one, right? Because this was about the year you were born, and this is what I was saying about the fading American dream is what he calls this. But this was right. This idea, and again, like I said, in my house, it was a narrative growing up, right? The idea was you did a little bit better each generation going forward. I think that's what I always thought upward mobility meant, right? Was that if you worked hard and you had enough opportunities and a family tended to take advantage of those opportunities, right? And did you hear what I said, right? I threw that in there because I think upward mobility is a myth, right? I mean, sure, there are people who don't or can't take advantage of opportunities for any number of particular reasons, but I think it's super problematic for us because I think it's part of that meritocracy bullshit. But nevertheless, setting all that aside, right? The idea was, you work hard, you take advantage of what you got, and each generation can keep pushing this thing forward up the hill. And now, and I've heard this in news stories that have come out in the last couple years about how, my generation, people like me, millennials, like how we're not going to do as well as our parents, even if we've, sort of outdone them in terms of qualifications or education or whatever it might be, right? And I was saying I was born in '86, right? So I'm literally like right off this chart. Yeah, I mean, this really, you start putting these things together, and this picture emerges. And this is what he was saying too, about the one with household income, to where what we're not considering when we talk about the Asian household is recent immigrants and coming with education or resources, or the fact that you have multiple generations or more people in the household. So yeah, I love this class.
Choice chance. So like these two people on average, so we take the black, they're representing the black community and the Hispanic community. So they're down here. The Asian, Native American community, by the way, is out here, right? They're back here behind the door. That's how far back they are. And so everybody is working to get ahead. And then we come back here to this thing, that if, you ready? People have an equal chance. Dude, if you work hard, people have an equal chance to get ahead if they just work really hard. So here's the problem. What's your name? Stephanie. Melissa, Stephanie, and Melissa. Okay? Now, mind you, be aware of the following. It may be that the richest person in class is Hispanic or is black. I have no idea. We're just going with these numbers here for a second. So Stephanie and Melissa, so they're going to work really hard, because this is the thing, work hard to get ahead. But while they're working hard to get ahead, the Asian team is also working hard, and so is the white team. Man, the white team's working hard. What do you think? White people are just chilling? White people are working too. And he's going to work as hard. What's your name, bro? Kyle. So Kyle's going to work hard. So watch so the two of you start moving up a little bit. But you guys are moving up too. So they start moving up, but they move up. And so the idea is somehow we're up here. So hang on. White people get up here. And then we look back down to black and brown people, less so Asians, and we're like, Kyle, you know what they need to do? They need to just work a little harder. You all could do it. Hey, by the way, Stephanie and Melissa, you could do it. You could be where Kyle and I are, but you're going to have to work really hard. But the problem is, when you're working really hard, are you ready for this? What are Kyle and I doing? We're working really hard too, because he and I are climbing up as well. And so the problem is, they can work as hard as they want, but we're going to keep working hard too.
All right, so yeah, I love that video. Really, really cool stuff. So yeah, teaching with Sam was great. Sorry about the video. I didn't realize that I didn't switch over. So it was kind of Uncle Bobby style there for a while. But yeah, Sam's great. One of my real heroes, and I think it's something that people, need to really think about. Like, I don't fault people for not understanding things that are outside of their perspective. I just I want people who are genuinely trying to help to you know, be willing to learn, because we've all got a lot to learn. I'm still learning. I'm still getting corrected about things every day, and that's, I think, as I've been trying to remind myself, growing up is part of growing up. I think if I'm gonna be out here after a lot of the things that have been going on lately, then we're gonna have to start talking about racism. And I don't know why it's so hard for me. I mean, part of the point of this is like, hey, it's used to be the gig, right? But it's different when it's a community you're a part of. I know this from my experience in gaming communities. There's always fucking toxic personalities in the gaming communities, and it's never easy to address that. But it's really frustrating when people are not aware of what racism really looks like, because then they're not able to respond to it. Because if it doesn't look like, I don't know, burning crosses, I guess, or Klansmen or whatever, people don't really know what to do. And even with a lot of the things that have been going on, it's like nobody ever brought it back to a larger conversation about racism. So I don't know. I want to do a stream with Maya about it. I want to start to talk about it in some ways. It might be a shift for the channel. I'm not saying it's something I'm do all the time, but I want to start to address what I've been feeling in a constructive way, and maybe try to dive into the issues in ways that are helpful for people that are interested. Quite frankly, I don't think a lot of people are interested. That's been kind of the frustration, but it is what it is, man. Look, I'm tired. Let me get up out of here. I do have some more work I want to try to get done before I go to bed. And I appreciate everybody being here. I'm hoping maybe I'll revisit these. And yeah. All right, Carrie Ann. Well, Carrie Ann's interested, so appreciate it. Joel said, I think behind the anonymity, people will show their racist behavior. Yeah, that's a lot of what you see online. And I think that's one of the things I can definitely relate to. I don't think people understand that. Like, addressing racism really, in any sort of bigotry, we're just working towards a society where people can participate in everything. And for instance, gaming is a good example for me, because I'm in gaming communities, and there's a lot of the same bigotries that you find in social media, and people are just crazy because, you know, it's just a PlayStation name and an avatar, right? And then they're just screaming on people in game chats or whatever. But people have to be able to game for the same reasons anybody else wants to game. And for people that are affected with certain issues, it's like, it feels like there's no escape, because not only is there the bigotries of the real world, but then when you go to, you know, escape to a quiet place, you know, sometimes you're dealing with even more there, or people feel even safer. And so you have to deal with that, right? You know, and then that's kind of blamed on you, right? That's where a lot of that whole snowflake and all this type of stuff came for, because people started to just say, hey, I'm not really comfortable with people being abusive. Like, you don't know me like that. Like, and that's where I came from. Somebody tell you, like, they're just saying, like, look, you may not understand who I am, but I'm not the type of person that plays like that. And I'm the same type of way. Like, I try not to take myself too seriously, but I'm perfectly willing to remind somebody that I'm a serious person. But yeah, that's something we could get into. Yeah, y'all, I'm tired. Let me get up out of here, man. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Come to the ranch, man. Let's hang out. I got a couple more of these shots to take. I don't know if I'm gonna go over the. Yeah. Maybe we should go over to Hunter Biden's laptops for a little bit. So yeah. Look, links are in the description. Subscribe to Hunter Biden's laptops. I'm trying to do work streams. Subscribe to the Casino Theater Arcade. We're going to be doing some more gaming streams. Appreciate everybody. I'm not going to be having too much fun right now. I need to put in like another good hour or so of work, and then I'll take it from there. But look, appreciate y'all. Catch everybody next time. Come hang out at the ranch. Set 'em gone. Peace.
Why she wanna leave me alone? Saying all I do is wrong. No rights, only been left turns. Playing that she gotta let it burn. Saying that the house not a home. Sunshine cause she heard it all before. Sometimes she don't wanna be alone. Most times she don't want me gone. She don't know I try my all. She don't know I sprung in the sun, but I'm going in the winter, so we good to the fall. Remember how I told you I get it and I win. Now I'm got it, you ain't answer my call. Wonder if I've been moving too strong. Maybe I just been moving too balls. Really hate when the feeling get lost. Nowadays she just dodge my calls. In the game throwing lows like Paul. Young legend Miss John like Wall. And I wish you never met like Carl. Dick game lay it down like law. Made plans but you canceled them all. I was just trying to splurge in the mall. Now I'm home stacking bread till you call. It's time to roll. She tryna slide. We smoking Zah. Stop acting shy. Cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know